Welcome to The Inverted Castle, a Metroidvania podcast. I'm feeling devious and looking glamorous, and my name is Thomas Blight, with my co-host, Eric Fox, who is mischievous and polyamorous.
Let's be honest, I'm just a palette swap.
And welcome to the cult of Dionysus.
Jesus. So what? Impressive.
That's my dumb intro thing. That's it. What we're actually doing, not singing a song by the Orion Experience, is talking about Knightmare II, the Maze of Galious.
Yes, a classic, prototypical Metroidvania back in the days of 1987 by none other than Konami.
Yeah. And, 87 is kind of an interesting time, because, the original Metroid's already out. But, I don't think there's really been a genre codified.
Not at all. Yeah.
Nor will there really be a genre labeled for a long time until,
We're at least a decade out from Symphony of the Night, which really kind of, was the one that put the Vania in Metroidvania.
Yeah, there's kind of this other notion of genre that's a little broader that they belong to, and, Zelda belongs to, of sort of roleplay, sort of actiony games.
Yeah, and also not the role of items, pickups, and progression is still very much in the Zelda spirit.
Yeah. Which was also in 86, so Zelda is also not that old at this point.
It's not that old, but is definitely around for people to draw inspiration from.
Yeah. So, the reason that I made my dumb Cult of Dionysus reference in the intro is because Maze of Galious heavily draws on Greek mythology. Well, okay, maybe heavily is not the right word.
It's very superficially draws on Greek mythology, I would say.
Also weirdly Christianity at the same time.
Yeah, which is, if this was on a Nintendo console, that stuff would be wiped straight out. But yeah, lots of crosses, like bread and water. It's this is a game that is side-scrolling, search 'em up adventure game. Although I guess not side-scrolling, it's more like screen tile-based, like Zelda, but side view.
Yeah.
And it's there are a ton of items to get, and they aren't all particularly useful, but they're there, and you can pretty much get almost all of them from the jump.
Yeah, there were a couple on the world map that you could only get after completing one of the dungeons, I guess.
Yeah, there's a world map which is just the Castle Greek. You play as Popolone / Aphrodite. They're just two different characters, two different health bars with minor differences that become less and less as the game goes on.
Sorry, that reminds me that weirdly in the translated NES version, they swapped it to Roman names.
That's right. Probably because they're shorter.
It was because I was looking up screenshots and I was like, wait, her name's not Aphrodite here.
Yeah, the NES version is very different. That one does feature scrolling backgrounds, and the design of it is a bit more Zelda-esque. And in order to get around a few things that are PC specific, they expanded what the menu can do. Items are delineated between gear and usable things, instead of just certain things being able to just hit different keys on the keyboard to use. But the progression of this game is big world map, but within that are 10 different sub-areas called worlds, which you have to play in an enforced order. Only one of them's open to you. You get your first key, go into that one. By the end of that dungeon, you get the key to World 2, so on and so forth. The entrances are all over the map, but in general, all of the items that like help with gameplay are found on the main world map.
Yeah. If I recall, in the beginning, when we were defining Metroidvania, we actually kind of poo-pooed Zelda for having like really segmented dungeons away from the main area.
And this is weird because, yeah, this game eschews a lot of what people would define as like genre staples of like there is an enforced order. None of the items really give you movement, like upgrades. Like maybe it makes you go faster, but there's nothing that is gated in the world outside of very specific items that essentially just do. You can now go past this door / water. There's a bridge now.
Yeah, they tend to change the world instead of changing you.
Exactly.
With the exception of the attack weapons, I guess.
Yeah, there are
attack weapons. So weapons are always for attacking. Attack items.
the sub weapons, which have an ammunition, but yeah, you find them, and certain enemies are better handled / only handled by them, but they are all not necessary to like get around the castle. Potentially, outside of a few exceptions, that the items literally won't even spawn, even if you get there, until you have completed a certain number of worlds.
Yeah. Particularly with the bosses, it seemed like the bosses were usually only vulnerable to the sword and maybe one of your items.
I think some of them weren't even vulnerable to the sword.
Specifically the ooze, which was hinted.
Yes.
Which, this game is kind of interesting in that it has a hint system built in where you can find one of the Greek gods and they will tell you things. In fact, it's usually Dionysus, isn't it?
Demeter, I believe.
Or Demeter, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, Demeter's also the person you save at, which we'll get into how this game saves in a minute. But very similar to Zelda 1, where you'd occasionally find an old man who'd just tell you that Dodongo dislikes smoke, something like that.
I felt that the hints were better in this than that level of crypticness. Like, this isn't Simon's Quest, and this isn't Zelda 1. The hints usually make a lot of sense, right?
Yes.
Like, it was like, bring mines to World 4. It was like, okay, that's pretty damn straightforward.
Yeah, go left, there's a cracked wall. Like, it pretty definitively tells you where to go, but there aren't that many, and there are definitely some things in this game that there is no hint for, that there maybe should be.
Like the frickin' cross.
Like the cross, which you need to beat the game, and it is just in a random... okay, so...
Yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but who jumps down pits attacking every cell of wall just to see if one of them might be damageable? Who does that?
Who does that? And also, this wall is above a pit, and if you don't know to jump at it, attack it, and then immediately, like, hang back in a game whose jump mechanics are very specific, it's just, like, you don't find this without a guide. Or in, I think it's World 5? Which is the one where you have to wait for, like, a solid minute in front of water to have a rock randomly appear.
Oh, yeah, the disappearing platforms. I think that's 5. Yeah, I kept pausing, and so I never actually sat there waiting.
Yep. Because it's weird, because there was a previous world where you need to get an item to get past a similar section, where, oh yeah, you need to go buy the, like, ore or something to make a bridge appear.
Yeah, and if I recall, there's even a hint somewhat nearby that says, like, Aphrodite need not fear water, or something like that. Or no, maybe that was a different world. Maybe it was the same world as the one where you need the bridge. Where it's like, okay, that means jump into the water as Aphrodite, and you'll find a secret or something. No, that's a different area.
Aphrodite does not need to fear the water, but it doesn't get her anything.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of something I haven't really thought about. So, like, one of your characters is a god.
Yes.
But she doesn't seem to do much better than Poplon does at anything other than breathing water. Or holding your breath, I guess.
I assume that's the idea. It's not that Popolone is literally melting in water. Uh, I'm not sure if she's actually a goddess or merely the princess of Castle Greek. It's not entirely clear, but yeah, the differences between the two are very minor. Popolone, he gets to jump a little higher and control his jump a little, like, better.
And he breaks, like, the doodads easier.
He breaks rocks, which is, in the game, all of the items, if they're not spawned by killing all of the enemies, they're in a rock. There's no chest in this game. You bust a rock and, oh cool, there's a Bible. Now I can stop time.
I kind of thought they were urns.
No, they're explicitly rocks because the item you get eventually, which just breaks all rocks on screen, you just hit the attack button and all rocks are gone. It breaks those things.
Oh yeah, I was very confused when that started happening and did not attach it to the getting of the item.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a quick count here for it. Yeah, there's at least 30 just generic, like, items that you get, but they're all things like, or at least most of them are things like, you walk a bit faster, or now Popolone can shoot 3 items at a time, like Aphrodite, or now Aphrodite can break rocks in 3 hits instead of 15.
Oh yeah, jeez, the 15.
Yeah, I got rid of that right quick. And that's not including all the sub weapons, which take a generic ammo count. They're very good. Like, if you have the money, eventually money stops being an issue. Buy as much of that as you can, as well as keys. Because there's no chests, but there are doors that, going either way through, you're going to have to spend a key, and you can very easily find yourself, like, halfway through one of the worlds, and no way to continue because you ran out of damn keys, and farming for them is a chore.
Yep, it's definitely very annoying.
But thankfully, you can't really get soft locked in this game.
I mean, you can at the very beginning, and it was kind of funny because I think I complained to you in like my second hour of play or something that I thought I had gotten soft locked because I just didn't know the right buttons.
Yeah, learning the buttons, and the manual is actually kind of extensive.
Yeah, in the like possibly the second screen, you pick up the halo. The halo allows you to return to the only save point in the game, which is not really a save point in the way we traditionally think about it. It gives you a password.
It's a PC game with a 45-character password that you need to write down,
which contains both zeros and O's, because apparently they hate you.
It's a nightmare. Thankfully, playing this game in the year of our Lord 2021, we have emulators and save states, and I do not begrudge anyone for making use of that.
Oh yeah, the emulator and save states made it basically playable. This is going to hugely influence where I put it in the stack rank.
Yes, yeah, like, playing it, like, in the context of when it was released, there's a lot about this that would be an absolute nightmare. Hence the name.
So, yeah, I guess the plot there is to speak of, I guess, is that you and Aphrodite, are your wife, or like Popolon and Aphrodite, are coming back from the events of the first game, I think, having met at the end and married.
Yep, the first game is a vertical shooter, which is weird.
Yeah, like 1942.
Yeah, exactly. Except you're a dude who throws, like, knives and stuff. It's alright, but it turns out that, yeah, in that game, oh man, Aphrodite, the princess of Castle Greek, got kidnapped. Hey, Popolone, you're a cool guy, go save her. And he does, but it turns out that was all a ruse by Galious, the downright no-good, very bad man, who used this opportunity to not only take over Castle Greek and, like, try and, like, turn the world into the domain of darkness or whatever, he also he went to heaven and stole Aphrodite and Popolone's yet-to-be-born son.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, I guess he's like some kind of Baphomet type thing when you encounter him with a dark cross, so...
Sure.
He's got dark and sinister powers. He can go to heaven and steal unborn children.
Why not? This literally gets half a sentence in the manual.
Yeah. I definitely thought that was something you were going to have to find, like, before the end of the game. I was like, oh no, I haven't found all the things, because this manual mentioned this unborn son.
No. Thankfully. You do find the son at the end. But... yeah, it's just a weird thing that, like, obviously, like, playing through the game, there are no cutscenes, story moments, or anything. You just go through the worlds. Yeah, no story till the end. But that's the setup. And, I mean, kudos for having a female playable character, which is essentially the same person, especially after you get the items that make them literally the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Metroid did it first. I'm sure there's other things that did it first.
No, Metroid is a cool robot man.
But in particular, like, there's, like, I mean, it would be weird for there to be sexualization in this game, just based on its medium. But, like, Metroid at least had the dumb, like, Samus undressing stuff at the end, depending on your completion rate.
I mean, I did not try and speedrun this game. Who knows? Maybe we get Pope Alone in a thong.
I guess you could make a case for sexism in that she can break boulders with 15 swings instead of 3. I don't know.
Yeah. Great lung capacity, though.
But yeah, I feel like it's only when people start, like, seriously obsessing over, like, marketing of things, they're like, we can't put women in games, women don't sell, because, I don't know, our marketing is based on selling things to preteen boys.
Yeah.
And girls are icky to preteen boys.
Oh man, it is so difficult, man. Have you ever tried to talk to a girl when you were a preteen boy? Woof. Would not recommend.
Can't say I've tried that for, like, 2 decades at this point.
Especially if you're a heterosexual cisgendered white boy.
Clearly the most difficult thing.
No one has it harder than that demographic.
Oh yeah, I should probably do the context stuff.
Oh yes.
So award-winning games
they had awards back then, if you can believe it.
Yeah, in 1987, the second annual Famitsu Awards, which is kind of exciting. Famitsu is a big Japanese magazine.
Yeah. This is the second one.
Yeah. Got Darius, Dragon Quest II.
Oh, Dragon Quest will win everything from here on, basically.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are just Japanese names that I have not heard of. So this is the first of them. Supari Ozumo.
Oh man, never heard of that one.
Zombie Hunter.
That sounds generic enough to be anything.
Shin Onigashima. Family Computer Golf.
Famicom Golf, like that's the golf game. That's NES Golf, I assume.
Yeah. Bubble Bobble.
Oh, Bubble Bobble. Love that.
Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei.
Ooh, man.
The very first.
Before it became SMT, it was merely MT.
Yeah. Shin, of course, just means new.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo one.
Nakayama Miho no Tokimeki High School.
Yep, that was, like, I think, very prototypical dating sim.
Xanadu, which I believe is a weird, like, sort of a port of, Dragon Slayer 2 Xanadu, sort of not really the same thing.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a bit, but yeah, it's the more Zelda 2-like version of, very loosely related to Dragon Slayer 2 Xanadu. It's a more action-focused, and more Zelda or / Metroidvania than Xanadu ever was. Man, that game sucks. I love it.
Afterburner. Genpei Tomaden, Momotaru Densetsu, Exciting Billiards.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Wizardry.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I guess Wizardry was popular over there, too.
Salamander. I think those two were the best port category, which is a weird category to have, but I guess it made sense at the time.
Yeah, Salamander was a Gradius-like?
Yeah.
I want to say.
Pro Yakyu Family Stadium.
Oh, man.
I don't know what Yakyu is, but I assume this is a sports game.
I'm certainly not a pro at it.
Zelda 2 Adventure of Link.
Hey, yeah, boy.
which I guess is the most Metroidvania-like of the Zeldas. Although controversially, it also has a like world map, which is a different gameplay experience from the rest of it, which I kind of disqualify as a Metroidvania for that rule. That
It definitely hurts. It's like, yeah, the overworld functions more like an RPG, complete with random encounters.
yeah. Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which is that the thing that became the Western
The US Mario
Mario
2.
2?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that one had, yeah, like a whole family instead.
Uh, Fantasy Zone.
Fantasy Zone. I've heard of that game, but I can't remember what it is. It probably is not important.
Hokkaido Rensa Sasujin Okhotsk ni Kyu.
Oh, word?
Yeah, this one was probably the hardest Japanese one I've had to say.
I mean, I recognize the location of
Yeah.
where it presumably takes place.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Hell yeah. Classic.
Shanghai. Oh, sorry, you wanted to talk about Punch Out.
No, not really. I mean, it's not much of a Metroidvania, so probably shouldn't get into it.
SD Gundam World Gachapon Senshi.
Wow, gotcha games way back in the 80s.
Yeah, like what? What? This has Gachapon in it?
And I wonder what was more popular, the fact that it was a gotcha game or it was Gundam.
I presumably Gundam, but
I mean, this was like close. Yeah, how old is Gundam? Like, isn't it 80s? The OG?
I assume. Misaze Pachi Pro Pachio-kun?
Sure.
Side Pocket.
That's a billiards game. Less exciting than the other one.
Some of these categories were a little weird, so like I feel like that's maybe why you see a bunch of like billiards games.
Listen, it was their second time making awards. They're not gonna get it right the first or second or third time.
Tetsudo O or Zero? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Did not make a splash in the Western Shores, clearly.
Professional Mahjong Goku.
Oh man, Goku's in that one?
Yeah, also, Famitsu had a specific category for Mahjong game.
It was a pandemic of Mahjong back then, man. You couldn't throw a stone and not roan somebody.
The Guild of Thieves, and Nebulous. So, that was a lot of awards for, I feel like, a time where there were not actually that many awards giving.
Publications? Yeah.
It's mostly Famitsu.
I guess they need to pick up the slack there.
But they also awarded multiple games in a best category, which I feel like is cheating.
Okay, yeah, you can't, like, in a list of the award winners, you can't also have all the runner-ups. The runners-up.
Oh yeah, a bunch of those were just the Critics' Choice Awards.
Okay, sure. Again, like, yeah, it was early going, but there were a lot of, like, really good NES games.
Yeah, and recognizable series that will continue on. And this game, which, I don't think there's a Knightmare 3?
There is.
Oh, is there?
Oh man, you don't know about Knightmare 3 Shalom?
I do not know about Knightmare 3 Shalom.
So, in the tradition of Knightmare games, the third game is, again, a complete genre departure. Whereas the first one was a vertical shooter, this one's a side-scrolling search-em-up. The third one is an adventure game that takes the, style of Dragon Quest. So, it's sprite-based, but there aren't really any battles except for a few, Maze of Galious style boss battles occasionally. But for the most part, it's talk to people, get items, and explore. Like, that way?
Yeah, okay.
So, it's also an isekai, where the story of the game is that Knightmare 3 Shalom just released, and this hapless college student picked it up on the recommendation of his friend or whatever, and got sucked into the game, and now, Popolone and Aphrodite are both long dead, and their son, Pompous, rescued in Knightmare 2, is now old, and he needs this young boy to save the kingdom or something. Again, this game was also released later this same year in 1987.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, they were cranking them out, and like, yeah, this is also a time when like, what sequels are supposed to be is not really codified. Like, we just had Zelda 2, which also turned into a side scroller, of departure, at least aesthetically, from the first one. And then the Knightmare series, just you can't pin it down.
That's true. There's not a whole lot of like sticking to the same genre with a sequel
Yeah.
necessarily.
And I think Japanese devs were also, like, every time a game shipped, they would just completely just throw out all the code. No need to keep it around. It's old stuff. The
Well, I
next
mean,
game will use completely new stuff.
if you're changing systems, then maybe that makes sense. But
Again, like, it's one of those things where we may as well change systems. We're not keeping this stuff around.
yeah, I mean, software development was also pretty new.
I guess so, yeah.
So I feel like that, I mean, maybe not actually that new in the grand scheme of things, but like, I guess probably more consumer focused software development was pretty new. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking shit.
I'm never sure. You could tell me anything. I'll believe it.
Speaking of sequels, though,
Yes.
this game has a very notable spiritual sequel
Uh-huh.
in La Mulana.
A game we can't seem to not bring up basically every episode because, man, that game owns.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a masochist.
If you're a masochist, which obviously,
We both are.
given how much I still like this game, spoiler alert, I think this game kind of slaps, even as it slaps me across the face.
I mean, if I were playing it without save states, I don't know, that seems pretty rough.
I would not get through it, but I still would probably have a large amount of affection for it. But thankfully, fixing the save issue, I'm just not writing down 45 distinct characters every time. But yeah, if you've played La Mulana, which I think at this point more people have than have played Maze of Galious, especially the OG MSX version of Maze of Galious. People made a Windows version of it at some point, which is basically the same game, except it gave you save slots and a better frame rate. And it looks nicer, but is otherwise the exact same game. Yeah, La Mulana is just this. The jumping mechanics are the exact same, where if you jump forward, you are locked into that momentum. But if you just jump straight up, you can go back and forth as you please. When you get hit, it has the Castlevania style knockback. There is no healing other than kill enough things to fill your XP bar, and all your XP bar does is give you health. It's great.
Yeah, I did not know how blatantly La Mulana was just a copy of this game.
In the original release of La Mulana, there was an entire section where it's you play through World 1 of Maze of Galious as Lameza from La Mulana fame.
Cool.
It is the most explicit in Maze of Galious. If you have another, there are two different other Konami games, which if you have loaded in the other slot in your MSX, you'll get basically cheat code, oh man, here's a bunch of keys and money. Thanks for buying Qbert.
Speaking of cheat codes, that was another way that we could have made this more reasonable.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you type Zeus at the start screen of the game, you unlock continue mode, which when both of your characters die, you just respawn on the same screen.
Yeah, a thing I did not learn until after when I was going for 100% at the end, which, don't bother, there's nothing for it, and all of the items are no longer relevant. But there's a few things that are interesting there, but yeah, there's the Zeus cheat code. There are a couple of items that are essentially cheats.
Yeah, like the Bible.
The Bible less so, because it is limited use.
That's true. You get 15 uses of it, I think.
Something like that, and
it freezes time for the enemies and lets you still attack them.
And I think if you were to continue via the password system, you get your charges back.
Oh, really? Wow, yeah, 15 times per load of the game? That seems pretty sweet.
It's very good, except I never did it, and I didn't know that it got charges back, so it was too awesome to use, so I never actually hit that.
I used it against the World 9 boss, because that was some bullshit. The World 9 boss is 4 invincible clouds that strike you with lightning while you're fighting a dragon.
It is the worst. That boss, oh my god. Pro tip, use the Bible. Because, yeah, the clouds you can't defeat. The lightning arc is somewhat random. The only place you can damage the boss is, like, on this one vine, and you have to shoot it with arrows or ceramic arrows. I can't remember which. We should probably get into what the actual projectiles are, because they're similar, but notable. But, yeah, there's one place, and you're just going to get nailed by lightning, which even at max HP, like, maximum all health upgrades, is going to take you out in a couple of hits.
Yeah, that definitely sucked. I also found out through reading stuff about it that you could have stacked all of your health upgrades on one person, and even though the bar filled up after half of the bosses, your health would continue getting bigger.
I did not know that. I really should have just put all my eggs in one basket, except for that one dungeon where you can't use one of your baskets.
Yeah, I load balanced them, and I mean, it wasn't that bad. You just had to remember to switch before the boss killed them.
Yeah, I made a point of, like, alternating every boss. It worked out fine, except, yeah, there are two worlds where there are items that their sole purpose is lets your other character work in the world. And I didn't find that item for one of them, so it was all Aphrodite, baby. It was fine.
Wait, okay, I guess also, how did you explore, like, what order did you do things in? Because I explored basically the entire castle, and then did World 1.
Okay, so I explored a lot, but basically, whenever I stumbled upon a world, or just, if you found the bell item, it starts ringing when the next world in the order is nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would explore until I found the next world, essentially.
Pretty good system.
It is, except then you go into situations like you didn't find the necklace, so Pope Alone can't enter World 7, so you have half the available amount of HPs for this one.
That's fair.
Yeah, there are a couple, but I was lucky that I didn't get, say, World 8. There's an item where if you don't get it, every time you transition a screen, it's the opposite. You go in the opposite direction. So, like, the entire world is, like, symmetrical. But, yeah, if you don't have that, then, yeah, it's a lot harder to navigate. I also didn't find the candle before World 5? 4? One of them that has a few dark rooms, which you have to go through blind if you don't have it. It wasn't too bad, but, again, I was under-equipped for a few of these, but at least I had a lot of health, which made exploring a lot easier.
That's fair. It was a little hard at some points to explore when, like, near the top of the castle, I'm pretty sure a bunch of the things could one-shot me.
Yeah, there are a few things like that. Again, save states help a bit for, like, if there's a particularly tricky platforming section, that if you fail hard. You can kind of get around that.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine doing. Oh, I don't remember the world number, but the very vertical world.
Oh man, yeah, I think that's 9.
I can't imagine doing that with saves, or with the actual password system, because it was like, so you jump. If you screw up your jump, you fall, and you fall several screens and then into lava.
Yeah, I think that's World 8, and in that scenario, your only option is to very quickly teleport, like hit pause and teleport back to Demeter. Or if you found the feather, you can then go to any other unopened world.
Yeah, I kind of wish that it had given you the feather earlier.
I wish I found the feather before I beat basically the whole game. Is what I... Listen,
oh man.
The things I didn't have throughout the game that I really wish I did. So I didn't lose out on any of the sub-weapons which you need to beat the bosses. Like, there's the arrow, there's the ceramic arrow, which is slow-moving, but, like, will continue to deal damage as it moves through an enemy. There are 2 different versions of rolling fire, one which goes around the platform, one which just falls. Then there's the mine, which is only useful to beat the slime boss, and otherwise is a really good way to not live anymore.
Yeah, I did kill myself a bunch with the mine.
It does so much damage to you.
It does.
So if you're trying to, like, finesse an enemy around it, It just don't. It's fine. Use arrows. Arrows are good. Stock up. Have 999 of them, and you're great.
So supposedly you can use the mine to kill the final boss without having the cross.
Really?
I could not figure out how that was supposed to work because it involved you triggering your own mines and not dying.
That sounds like some Mew under a truck bullshit, honestly.
I don't know. This was described as not the straightforward way to kill him.
Yeah, no. The straightforward way to kill him is have the cross and spam rolling fire because its hitbox is just high enough to hit the one weak point of the final boss.
I just went halfway up a ladder and shot arrows at him.
Also a good strat.
Yeah, but it took me forever to figure out you had to hit him in that cross. I was just like, okay, this is just like before I had the cross. What do I do, guys? What do I do?
Yeah, you got the cross, so he doesn't have the cross, which is so that point of defense is gone. It makes sense-ish.
Yeah, wait, was his cross actually a different color before you took it?
I actually don't know.
Because that would be a nice detail, but that is not something I noticed.
Again, like this was, okay, I'm clearly, like I went into World 10, which is just a straight line. It's not really a world even, it's a glorified hallway, with jumping and lava.
Yeah, it was a glorified hallway that was easy enough to screw up still. So I imagine it would still make me pretty mad if I was on passwords.
Yeah.
And just like making an attempt at this boss involved me jumping to a platform I cannot see because of the screen transition and hoping I don't screw it up. Like 3 or 4 times across screen transitions.
Each of the screens in that hallway are a blind jump over lava. And you have no idea what the height or the location of the next platform is. Good luck. So, yeah, to be fair, it's that. But I got that far, realized, okay, this is the end of the game. I'm gonna go back and just get all the items, and then I started looking stuff up. And there are a couple of items that you need a guide for. You need to go to a specific spot and, like, say, attack left 3 times, attack right 3 times, and then just jump 3 times, and then you get double experience.
Oh yeah, that item was complete bullshit. Also, the knife.
The dagger is the real fucker.
Which, like, I could kind of see you accidentally doing it.
Kind of. You need to be on a moving platform, and it's like a circle, right, down, left, up, and jump.
Yeah, and then you need to, of course, land on the platform above that moving platform from that jump, or else the thing is just going to go away.
Yeah, even knowing where it is, it's still tricky because the platform moves horizontally, and if you're not ready.
Yeah, and then the kicker is that knife doesn't do anything unless you know the secret password,
Yeah.
Which is umbrella. Nothing
Obviously.
in-game tells you the secret password that I know of.
No. Yeah, you need, and it's a PC or MSX game, so you use the keyboard to type out umbrella, and all the bats on screen die.
Which is super convenient, and I wish I had found it before the end of the game. I started looking up things at the end, but
Bats are the worst enemy in this game.
I kind of wonder if that's some weird, like, developer Easter egg where it's just like, okay, we're gonna make this easier for ourselves. There's this weird thing that we have hidden here to get, but it's not even that easy to get to, so I don't know.
It's not easy to get to, and it's weird.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing, I guess, which is sort of a equipable item that we didn't talk about, was the magnifying glass, which you need to look at tombstones, or I don't know. Yeah, they're slates. I don't know.
They look like tombstones, and you have to keep checking each one. Again, if you played La Mulana, this is the hand scanner, and so in each world, the goal is to search for a specific gravestone which has the magic spell to summon the boss. And so, like, there are a bunch of just blank gravestones, no idea which one is which. So you just search around the world with the magnifying glass, and once you've found the magic spell, you then type that in the boss room, which I think is pretty cool. As a pseudo boss key, you find the thing you need to type, the password, as well as finding a bunch of like level-specific items that help with the boss.
Yeah, I kind of wish they had done something more with the slates that weren't the boss spell. Like, it's literally a blank spot if it doesn't have the boss spell on it.
There's no lore, no jokes. It's
Your main character was not able to identify whether or not there was text on something without their magnifying glass.
It's so small though. From a distance, no way. You need a magnifying glass.
Yeah, like I feel like that was a missed opportunity and definitely something good that La Mulana did. Was like, hey, I've got all these slates. I'm gonna put like other hints on them.
Yeah, they got lore, puzzle hints, jokes, a bunch of things that in that game also were similar to the like type in a spell type puzzle hint, I guess. Well, like the thing is, like this game doesn't have a lot of like the Metroidvania staples, as we've said. La Mulana does. It has those staples coming out its ass. But like, yeah, I could definitely see that if I was a kid playing this game, because like even as a kid, I played Metroid 1 all the time. I wasn't good at it. I played the first like couple of hallways 800 times and then never beat it. But I would probably lose a lot of time in the first world of this and then never beat it.
Oh yeah, the one other thing that was kind of a god dang it. I mean, there was a bunch of random things that were god dang it.
Oh yeah, like
but
you have to kill all the enemies in one room to unlock the way forward in a completely separate room.
yes, that definitely messed with me
Yep.
a couple times until I figured out that I should just be genociding everything before moving on.
Yep, as it turns out, like, even in a room where it just seems like you're just passing through, there's a couple of bats, they're hard to kill, I don't want to deal with this, move on. No, you need to kill those bats, dog.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely frustrating on the rooms that are only a long ladder and bats.
Because, again, bats are the worst enemy in this game. They don't deal a lot of damage, they will knock you into the next room forever.
Yes, and they also fly in pretty random patterns, so good luck figuring out where they're going to be going.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, hopefully they're not, like, below you in the wall. You have no way of, like, attacking.
Though the ectoplasm in World 1, definitely more frustrating, though there is an item that makes you not take any damage from them.
Yeah, there's a couple of, again, so many items, they have incredibly niche uses. There are a couple of items that just render you immune to certain enemies / environmental hazards. In the actual dungeons, there are like optional items you can get that are map specific, and there's one of each in each world, which essentially just make the boss easier. Like there's a map which helps to like kind of orient yourself, actual good map. But you also have the rod, which gives you infinite sub-weapons, which, since most of the bosses are immune to everything except a specific sub-weapon, pretty handy. There's one that gives you essentially double life, or double defense. And there's one that gives the enemy half the life it you'd usually have. So all these are things you would want to get, especially versus the World 9 boss, which is such... Oh man, what a terrible boss.
I don't think I went up against any of the bosses without all of them. Maybe one early in the beginning.
They aren't super hidden, although occasionally, like, how to get to them isn't immediately obvious. Maybe you need to, like, destroy a wall or, like, just take a circuitous route around. But, yeah, they're, for the most part, fine and essentially free on the way to the final boss.
Or buy a shovel, I think was one of them.
Yes. A couple of the worlds have a different unique item that just allows progress. I think World 3, 4, buy an ore. World 5, buy an ore, allows you to actually get past a couple of water sections.
Okay, maybe, yeah, or not shovel, I don't know.
Or buy a carpet, which... Yeah, I don't know why buying an ore gives you a bridge, but whatever. I think it gives you a bridge. Whatever.
Because they didn't want to implement a canoe.
Yeah, exactly. Or buy a carpet. Clearly that turns lava into stone. If the manual did not list every single item in the game and what it does, except for the cross, weirdly, this game would be so much more, like, just inscrutable.
I mean, it did list the cross. It just says that it's essential.
Yeah, it just says this thing. Hey, you're gonna need this.
Just be like, okay, so I've got everything else. Where the hell is this cross?
Yeah. It also guides you to the first world, making sure you get the halo. It's better than like certain other games of this era. Man, better than Xanadu, I'll tell you that.
That's fair.
But yeah, there's a charm to this game, even with all this like nonsense. Like, eventually there are things you learn, except for wait for a minute at invisible like block puzzle for the thing to appear. Outside of that, it's actually very playable, and I really actually dig the overworld music.
Oh yeah, it was pretty catchy.
Way better than Xanadu. It's like I hate to harp on that game, but man, I love that game. It sucks. Yeah, the music's very catchy. Also a thing that La Mulana would then go on to also do is make very memorable, catchy music. The boss fight theme is a little lacking, but it is what it is. Yeah, they're essentially just 2 tracks, overworld and dungeon rating, but they're good. They're good. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a game where if you know what you're doing, you can beat it quite quickly, because there's nothing really barred from you. This is a game that doesn't have a double jump.
It's true.
Which I was looking for all the way up until the final area. I'm like, where's the double jump? I looked at the feather, and I'm like, oh, clearly I need to get that. It's the double jump. And then I read what it did, and it was like, oh, it's a portal. Well, that's also something I wish I had.
Yeah, not a lot of like association with what the thing is and what it does, other than like the armor and shields.
Yeah, they make sense. Also, if you pick up the saber, it's a big sword. That makes sense that, oh, okay, cool. I do more damage now with the sword. But the dagger allowing you to yell umbrella at bats so loud that they just die? Sure.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
The Bible having powers over time? I'm sure God can manage.
Yeah, these are surprisingly devout Christians for the Greek gods.
But, hey, getting bread and water, which now allows Aphrodite to go through doors that only Pope alone usually can. I don't get that one. Earrings allowing Pope alone to have 3 arrow sprites on the screen at the same time. A lot of shrugs. Clearly they made like sprites for all of these items, and then I guess had to just like divide out all the functionality later.
There's got to be some moon logic for this, though, right? Like,
yeah, I guess, but also I think it's also part of the charm of just random things, just having random abilities, and then you develop the association later. Because, yeah, again, once you play anything that's inspired by this game, there's definitely we can make anything an item, and it'll be fine.
Just anything.
Salt and pepper? Hell yeah, dude. Make a stone face sneeze and get treasure.
I mean, that sounds like some La Mulana logic there. I feel like La Mulana also had some pretty weird random items.
That is literally a puzzle in La Mulana.
Oh, yep, I forgot already.
But anyway, this game, to complete the story, let's actually just kind of talk about how this ends, because it's like its beginning is kind of interesting. You beat Galious. You go into the next room, there are a bunch of rocks, because that's where treasure is, and if you've gotten the run item, you swing your sword once, they're all gone, and you find, oh, your baby was in it! You've taken back Castle Greek! And I guess the baby's also born, because it shows up in the end credits immediately, and then the crowd says, nice?
It's all just a metaphor for conceiving a child.
I mean, that's what I got. I knew that before I beat the game. Oh my god. It was so clear. Are you kidding me? Great keys. Wink, wink. You need to have 2 characters. But, and let me just see. Yeah. And then they decide that this whole story, the whole game of rooting around very much a maze, is that this is a legend that will be told again when they, not sure, like spelling in context, are apt to lose belief in love.
Yeah.
Hey, secretly, this was a love story. I know it was kind of obvious you're trying to find your baby with your wife, but it would, like, this is, after the credits, they even make a promise. Konami makes a promise to you that they will continue sending romantic game messages.
Yeah, that credits was something else. But kudos for them for having a love story that actually starts with them already married. I feel like that is not a thing that is normally done. Like,
Not common. Not common for an established relationship. Usually that's the climax, which I guess was the climax of game 1, so...
look, love continues after marriage.
Yeah, but Konami would make good on this promise. Some 7 years later, when it would release the groundbreaking, genre-defining Tokimeki Memorial for the Sega Saturn, PC 90... No, not 98. The stat-based simulacra of romantic fulfillment that is the dating sim Tokimeki Memorial.
Is that the first dating sim?
It's the one that really codified the genre. It's certainly the most popular. And I'm not saying that Tokimeki Memorial is a Metroidvania, but I am saying that Metroidvanias are the perfect metaphorization of talking to a girl. There's the conversational labyrinth in which we must navigate. There's space jump. Listen, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of commonality between these things.
Everybody is preteen Jesus in purgatory talking to a girl for the first time.
And I'll tell you someone who did understand that, and that's Koji Igarashi, the scenario writer for Tokimeki Memorial. See, there's a link here, a missing link, between Maze of Galious and Symphony of the Night. And it's a game that was never released in English, and is very much just a visual novel.
Alright, I'm gonna snip this in the bud.
What?
This wild line. And let's talk about where we put this in the stack rank.
Sure.
I think I have an idea of where we're both probably going to put this in the stack rank. We just don't have that many games yet.
Yeah.
So I think the big decision point for me is, do I make the controversial statement that this is better than Guacamelee or not?
How could you suggest something so controversial and yet so brave?
Like, I don't know, like this was hard and frustrating, but kind of enjoyable, despite the, like, frustrating and, like, bullshit? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. This game has a charm to it that it's very hard to be mad at. And, like, even though it's a thing where, even though it doesn't have many of the hallmarks of the genre, I still consider it very obviously a Metroidvania. And yet I won't give the same thing to, say, Zelda 1, despite it probably having more tropes that we generally associate with it.
Well, I mean, I guess there's also something to debate about. How much does a Metroidvania need to be a platformer?
That is true.
Because I feel like that's kind of an important element to it.
It's a thing where, yeah, like, I associate platforming with the genre because all of my points of reference have platforming in them. But, like, yeah, it's one of those things where, could someone adapt it to a non-platforming context? And so far, I've not seen it.
Well, I mean, I feel like a non-platforming Metroidvania would be very similar to a Zelda game, right?
Yeah.
Like, other than that dungeons are isolated places, I feel like that a non-platforming thing would just be Zelda.
Yeah, perhaps that's the one, like, key difference between the Zelda-likes, action-adventure, explore-em-ups, and the Metroidvania style is, yeah, I could see that. But, is this better than Guacamelee?
It's a difficult question. I think I'm gonna ultimately land on no.
I would love to be the contrarian, but that's where I was always gonna put it. I can't, in good conscience, put it above when Guacamelee is a very solid game. And this one has been fixed too much by modern conveniences for me to realistically say, yeah, it is inherently better. But the list is not everything. I hope that our discussion at least shed a bit more light about what we actually feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna put it under Guacamelee. Again, 2 steps above Xanadu. Love that game.
No, Eric. All games must be ranked linearly on a scale, and it is very important what games you put on the scale linearly above other games.
Of course, my list is the only objective one.
Oh, yes, of course, you being the objective observer of the universe. The rest of us are just your imagination.
Yeah, isn't that obvious? The solipsist hellscape in which I exist.
Ah, yes, of course. It's good that you imagined someone to do a podcast with, or else this podcast would be pretty lonely. But could you also imagine us some listeners?
I would love to. Let me try. Well, we'll see if that worked later, I guess. But is there any other final thoughts?
I think that just about does it. And I think it's time for me to decide the next game that we play.
Teacher, you didn't sign us homework.
Which, I've been mulling this for a while. Basically since last episode when I tried to predict which one you would do. So I think I do actually want to do Metroid Prime.
Finally.
A, we should probably do a Metroid game at some time.
Yep.
B, we should probably do a 3D game at some point.
Yeah, not just some of the ones that kind of broke form, like we were discussing.
Metroid Prime is a pretty good one to talk about. I considered being a little weirdly contrarian and skipping to Metroid Prime 2, just because I've played Metroid Prime, I think, twice at this point, but I've never touched 2 or 3.
I've played through all of them, I think, at least twice. So, yeah, I would definitely be down for that. I have the very rare-ish the Wii trilogy, so I'll be playing with the enhanced motion controls.
Oh boy, I think that's still available from the Wii U eShop, so I think I'm gonna have to dust off my Wii U and go buy it. Hopefully Nintendo doesn't shut that eShop down at some point.
Oh, when would they ever do something so heinous as shut down an eShop? People love logging in on Wednesday and finding new Wii titles. But alright, I think that'll do it.
Yeah, I've totally forgotten how we normally sign this off.
I
think that is how we normally sign this off, in fact, is me totally forgetting how to sign this off.
Yep. Alright, well, that's it. That's all from me. Hope you enjoyed listening, and join us next time as we tackle our first 3-day foray, and no matter what, never lose your belief in the power of love.